you just see it's gone off and installed that. So if I say, actually I don't want a rec1 installed, so if I get rid of rec1, so go on, who's been listening, who's going to tell me what's going to happen?
Installs rec2.
Okay. So, there we go. It's removed one package, it's installed another package, and if we do a pkg list, we see rec2's there. So it's automatically done dependency stuff for you. If I could do pkg install rec1, makes no difference. Just install the package, so if I pkg and uninstall rec2, that would just happen. Okay. What else do I have? Mediators. So I took. Oops. So as I mentioned earlier, mediators. Mediators. So my default on my system is Java 6. So if I do which Java, user bin Java, doesn't really make a difference, Java version, Java 1.6. So if I do pkg set -mediator -v 1.7 Java, that'll now go off and say that I need to be root. Okay. Okay, so whilst that's chundering through, it looks like our previous one in the background has finished. Okay, so what has happened here? It has gone past my screen buffer. Brilliant. Okay, so we can see that the system has been updated. It's created ourselves a new boot environment called that. Okay, so what we can do is have a look, see what it has done on that. So let's do badm mount IDR. That's one thing that it'd be nice to be able to have comments associated with the boot environment to say, what is this one? So you don't have these awkward strings. So I have an RFE out for that one. Okay, mount that up here. Okay, pkg -r/mt history -n5. What are the last 5 operations on the packaging here? Okay, blah 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 blah. So we see we've done an. Where's this gone? Okay, we see the update succeeded, so we've moved to something. What have we moved to? G-r/mt info entire. Where have we moved to? We have moved to SIU8. You don't know about SIU8. Yeah, so I'm using development repo at the moment. So I've moved from a constrained system from SIU5 with an IDR on, which typically would stop you moving forward, but I've got a version of the IDR that allows for it to be obsoleted. So I've not had to do any magic about that. It's just happened. So if you say, okay, we don't really believe you, Pete, you've done something behind the scenes. Okay. So what we do is we then have a look to see what happened on the system. Stream -r -t. It's gone past, isn't it? Sorry. -t, as I say, the history command to find out what's happened on your system is absolutely brilliant. I had to diagnose a problem with one of our network machines in the lab. There was a server and they said, we tried to update it, won't update. By using the history command, I figured out that 6 months prior to them doing an update, they'd actually had a problem, done something to their packaging, which then screwed them up 6 months later down the line. So using history is very, very important. Okay. So what we do here, this is just telling us what's happened on the system. So it tells us, again, why I say the history is good, because it tells us what packages what version they started off and where they've gone to. So we know we had an IDR installed, and here we go. So this one tells us that we had IDR 482 at 3, didn't even bother go at version 2, didn't even bother going through version 3, just said, I don't need it because I'm moving to a later SIU, so it's just ditched it, gone. Round of applause. So, and then that one's done. So we go back to the mediator case. So now if we look at the mediator output, mediator, we will see that is now 1.7. If I do Java, version, that is now 1.7. So we switched it nice and easily there. And that concludes my talk. Questions? No?
Any questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with things like Puppet, CF Engine, and that kind of stuff. But what I'm trying to say is, with Solaris 11, you can really completely manage what you put in the machine out and at what point it goes in or out or whatever. What happens is that we have in-house a system that is completely made by ourselves and is falling by the seams.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know you need anything else but Solaris 11 to manage all the package dependencies on and so forth.
So the package dependencies, you don't, the stuff that Oracle do, we make sure it all works. And Solaris 11, I'll put my hand up and said, yeah, we made a few mistakes with some of the packaging, but we fixed a hell of a lot of those. So 11.1 is really good from that perspective. We audit all the dependencies to make sure they're correct going forward. So every SRU we produce, we individually check every dependency that's generated to make sure they're correct. But the key to this is to make it automated. So we don't rely on engineers saying, actually, I'll put a dependency on there. What we do, well, I forgot to put it on the first slide, is we have a command called pkg depend. What pkg depend does is says, has a look at your binary, says, what does your binary link against? So if it's libc, I'll generate a dependency on libc. If it's libnss or whatever, it'll generate a dependency. It'll then say, I figured out what binaries you're dependent upon, and then it'll go off and say, it'll resolve those dependencies against packages. It'll then say, actually, you need these packages, and it'll generate dependencies for you on that. So it's, a lot of it's automated. Obviously, there are some cases whereby that automation will fall over, like, for example, if you're doing a DL open of a library, we just don't know that. So that's where we do need the engineer who's written that piece of code to say, actually, I know via a DL open, there needs to be this dependency, so you can put that in there. So from a Puppet point of view, though I know nothing about Puppet, I know there's work to actually include Puppet into some future thing. Don't take my word on that. So the packaging system endeavours to make everything a lot simpler, and the best way we like to see it from in terms of an upgrade perspective, in order to update your system, pkg update. You don't need to know patch numbers. You just need to pkg update. We also want to make it simple from an x86 and Spark thing. So in the SVR4 world, patch numbers, you have to say, there's my x86 numbers, there's my Spark numbers. This one, you just need to know the name of the package. That's it.
Has the packaging, there's a lot of stuff been added to the packaging system since the early days, or was this a lot of stuff already there? Because I think in the early days, people said, our packaging system, oh God, we can't do anything with it. You know, all you can do is packaging update, and you have to get the software which you tell us to get. It seems to be, there's a lot of things there which you do have control, which always people where, oh, you know, I don't want this version, you know.
Yeah.
Has a lot of options been added, or has it always been there from the
So the facet unlock stuff has been there since when 11.0, 11.11.11 was released. We had a very good discussion about that, because clearly what we want to do is customers stay on a well-defined surface, because there's so many advantages to everybody on that. But we need, then after the discussion, we say, actually on the leaf node components, we do need to allow to roam free and do whatever. So we introduced that. Obviously the command itself is a little bit unfriendly, but it's there. And that's, as long as the facility is there, then we can actually look at putting some syntactical sugar around it to make it a little bit more pleasant. The variants have always been there. The issues with the variants was actually the merging of the repository. So you build an x86, you build a Spark, and you've got to merge them together. It was actually the merging tools which weren't up to scratch. So that's all been fixed by pkg merge. That just takes two repositories, merges them together, slaps in the correct variants, and you're done. Again, with the debug builds, take the two repositories, stick them in, does all the merging for you. The release notes, that's new in 11.1. Mediators, that came about, that was in 11.0. So it's just that we only started using them really recently. What has happened is a lot of bug fixing. There's been, as time goes on, so performance has dramatically increased.
Pete, it's worth saying we've got 1 or 2 customers now who actually just did a package update on a cron job, like on a Friday. And
Yeah.
we laughed because no one would have dreamt of us doing that as low as 10. You system be down on Saturday. But you know, it works.
Yeah.
So it's 11. So.
But one of the key things is actually because it's an integrated solution as opposed to, are you running ZFS from root, have you got packages on, and blah, 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 whereas all this is all integrated together. So the boot environment is integrated with ZFS, which is integrated with packaging, so they're all together, and it's all a nice cohesive whole, I think. Okay, any other questions?
No? Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Thank you.